flying pit. I'm not selling this. I'm not giving this away. This is my own one and only. This is my droid cruise. Sure, you can't see it. It's a droid cruise. We actually wanted, it said Star Wars Episode 3. We wanted, and Rick approved it, but Lynn Hale, that pushy man, said, no, he wanted to put, shh. We wanted to put, if silence is golden, why doesn't he shut up? But you get to do that. I have to admit that when I said this, it was like, oh yeah, I'll be rather. I'm a little separated. Whose is this, by the way? This actually might take a little bit more, only because it's so darn cool. And what other rubber gloves? Bend over. Turn your head. Now, we'll find that secret. The environment, R2's weathering changed depending on the environment I was in, or we were in. We got down. Yeah. I break it. And see if these work.
Gotta turn them on.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, I'm just ready about
That's right, you are.
You already broke it. Gotta be strong.
This guy's really messy. Water. Yeah. From the Peruvian mines. It's hard to get the first coat on, and the reason this one looks as much as it does is because it never had a gloss coat put over it, and we did that purposely so that the paint would actually adhere to it. So this might be a little tricky, but it's not a science, believe me.
What color was that, Don?
Brown.
I think Mike just passed out somewhere.
He chickened out.
Mike just went, Nick.
Yeah.
I go to throw mine up there.
What is that you're using now?
That's just acrylic. This is raw umber. The raw umbers, the burnt and the burnt colors. Again, like I said, it depends on the environment. You know, when we did the Tatooine stuff, we did it more yellow, muddy kind of stuff. When we did Geonosis, we had more red in it. You know, so it really depends on the environment you want to say that it went in. The idea is to obviously work this while it's still wet. But the beauty of the acrylic is that you can actually, just so Mike doesn't pass out, you could actually wash it off. But it never really completely goes away, especially stays in the craft. So I always liked that look, and that's what I kind of tried to stay with, even when it's so it gives it a little bit more age, and because I think a white thing just looks unnatural, especially in the Star Wars universe. I mean, none of these things are ever that clean. Remember, George even commented that the robots were never as dirty as they were in the original Star Wars. So it's just a matter of.
You can save the ingredients.
This is raw umber. And then
Burnt umber.
I've got a list if you guys want it.
Yes.
Stuff. Yellow oxide, burnt. Probably.
We bought them. It's raw umber, burnt
Burnt umber.
raw sienna.
Sienna.
if you let it dry, and you know what we do at ILM a lot of times when we're doing some aging stuff, you let it dry in certain areas and you hit it. Also, sometimes using, you got to watch though with the depending on the paint and stuff like that, but using alcohol. Sometimes alcohol mixed with water makes a really interesting thing, and then you hit that with an air dryer and you dry it, and it looks really well. Like I said, if you ever overdo it, you just spray a little water on it. You could use a thing. And I like to get again, thinking naturally, have some like that would be dripping down, you know, constantly. He'd have an oil leak here or there or something.
I've used tattooing before.
Oh, really?
Blacks and browns.
Really? Does that wash off though?
Yeah, it stains white like gravy.
Oh, yeah.
It's designed to stay in your skin forever. It's sticky. It's not like you think. Tattooing's real tasty.
You know what's nice about the acrylics though, and you know it doesn't have to be these. I suggested these because they're easiest to get, but I mean we've used house paints, we've used whatever. House paint though tends to have the latex in it, and it works a little differently. But sometimes working with a few different kind of colors, or different types of medium, I should say, ends up working. So it's, best tools is just this stuff. Sometimes you can even take a plastic bag and sprinkle it up and get some nice faux staining on there. And then, again, just using some other colors.
So are there any times that you prefer to like wipe versus dab?
Wiping versus
wiping?
Yeah, well, the brush work is really just to get it on there, really, and spread it out. And then the dabbing, I prefer to do the, and something you don't want to use with that thing out here, some of the grain in it, because it starts leaving. It looks like, you leaned up against it with a flannel shirt.
Well, that's cool too.
It could be, yeah. I hate brush strokes. When I'm doing this stuff, I hate saying brush strokes.
So what's your preferred scrap of fabric you use?
Well, like a nice soft cotton, like a t-shirt. Yeah. Everybody knows what I think t-shirt.
Jersey.
And then the reds, can go in there like more rust colors. And yeah.
Someone asked what color that one was.
Raw umber. Let's put Dagobah on that one.
No, that one was.
Really dark.
I think it might have been rusty. This one I think it was rusty.
On the ILM unit, were the panel gaps originally white and they're only dark by what you've done to them?
Yeah, well, it was originally just fiberglass,
Okay,
carbon
so whatever
fiber.
color was all the same color.
Yeah, and that's been aged so many damn times. It's just got a real thickness of color in it.
Do you know if the original, like the aluminum R2 had like aluminum in the cracks in the panel?
Yeah, it would have. I mean, they just painted the whole thing white and then
Okay.
for the age after. Now there was a thing that again, if you do too much, like you said, it's the beauty of this. You wipe it off. I've actually rubbed paint off that was on for quite a while, so you can see it just comes right off.
Now do you like the ILM RT there that you've weathered a couple times, what do you use to clean it up with?
Usually just water. If it's too hard, simple green works really well, and it doesn't remove the paint underneath it. Again, that one you have to be a little careful because it doesn't have that clear coat on it. So, and on the domes and stuff like that, I try to stay away from that blue finish because it's a little bit more delicate. So even when I'm aging, I try to keep that to a minimum in those areas. So again, for me, I'm not a painter. I'm not an artist, and it's just a subtractive. I keep working it, depending on how much time I keep working it until I get something that looks kind of interesting. And,
I'm surprised the parts haven't started popping off.
You were mentioning about the gloss finish. Does that matter how much gloss or how little gloss you have?
I don't think so. It doesn't look like it's making this matter a whole lot. What it will do is it'll make it easier for cleanup. So if you say, I don't like it, again, if I had some simple green in here, this would clean up a whole lot nicer. But you can see how clean you could actually get that back to. It won't ever be white again. I mean, it definitely will not be this color again.
It's a one-way trip.
But the good thing about it, in my opinion, is that it gives it a more real white.
Makes it look aged.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it just a little bit more natural. There's something too stark about a real bright.
Now you do stuff like this even if you're going for a clean look.
Yeah. If this was freshly painted, we were given this on set, like Jason threw this one was, I would say, yeah, let's definitely just do a big wash of the raw umber and just do it to the whole thing. And like I said, just the raw umber seems to be a good one, just going around. around the whole thing like this.
Just to bring out panels and
Yeah,
things like that.
and you know what looks really good is on a silver. Once you get a silver, especially a rub and buff silver, even something like this, is this raw umber on there. It makes it. If there's a little green in it too. I don't have any here, but if there's just a touch of green in it, it makes it look a little bit more real. And the other thing, mind you, is that most of the time we're doing this for a film look. For film, so it doesn't always quite look the same up close, but on film, it looks a little.
How long does it take to complete drawing?
How much time? Yeah. We did one. We had a really aged one up once, and it was for episode 2. It was like 3 of us on a side. We kept following each other around because we didn't want it one side to look different from the other. So, like I said, you could just. I mean, even I want you all to go home and age your droids at least to this level.
Don, can you demonstrate some good damage on it? You got a chain or something?
Let me drive it for a while, and then the blacks I tend to not want to use them if you go to the other side. Can we turn this? Yeah, just turn it. I don't want to. The blacks tend to work again more from a quick aging, but somehow something about the black doesn't read as well. It looks like a purposely planned dirt. So I tend to use the black, and this is where it's tricky, and this is where real art. Justin always used to do these for me. Is putting like a scuff mark or a burn hit or something on
Put that around the octoports or the vents or something like that.
Yeah, on our forehead we had a scar going across it, across the side of its head or something like that.
Do you still usually prefer the brush over, say, like an airbrush?
I never use an airbrush. I don't know how to use those damn things. I have in a pinch. Actually, most of C-3PO for episode 2 was painted with this rattle pin. All that aging was done. And that's a very funny story. We had to get ready for Monday shooting, and it was Friday night when we figured out what the paint job was going to be. And George came in, and I had like all these samples because he said I heard it was going to be different various colors he wanted, different various metals he wanted different what it was made out of. And so we went and pulled things with rusty bits off the wall and stuff like that from all over the studio and laid it all out. And as a sample of him saying, oh yeah, pick this one here, pick this one here. And he kind of just said, I don't know, make the leg look kind of burned and make one arm white and, like it was painted white once or something. So that I took copious notes and we did that. But we got the costume and we realized that we had somebody sent us not these archive ladies that were right there, the previous administration sent us the wrong legs. They were too short for Tony Daniels. So I had to extend them on the spot on Friday night and they had closed the prop shop, so I didn't know the materials. I didn't know where the stuff was stored. So we're like stealing stuff off of people's desks. So the colors actually of that C-3PO were whatever colors people left on their desk that night. And that's what we ended up using. And the face had a lot of rub and buff on it because I had some of that. And it was just kind of like smash some of that paint on there, spray it with some black primer, smash some more, brush stippling on it, pull some paint off to make it look like it was delaminated. One real good rust effect is you got if you know Spray 77 or spray glue, but Spray 77 is a 3M product. And what we do is you prime the surface first. This wouldn't be for R2 necessarily unless you wanted to rust your. Prime the surface first, spray the stuff on kind of thick, and then take one of these disposable brushes and start stippling it, and it gets a real nice like delaminated texture on it, and like the little blisters of that form start popping, and then they form like a little crater and stuff like that, and you get that on there and do that as a base to the whole thing, and that ends up looking really, really nice, and then over that then you start using your oranges and reds and like rust colors.
So it's just a texture thing.
It's a texture, and it works really well.
Wouldn't that
In fact,
chip off, though?
what's that?
Wouldn't that chip off?
No, matter of fact, amazing.
The glue? The paint will stick to the glue?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you're doing it while it's still wet. You're working it while it's still wet. I've never used it.
It's great stuff.
Make a lighter to it when it's still wet.
Oh, yeah?
Let
Blisters?
it get hard and do the same thing. Yeah.
Fire. So you can see you can clean all that off.
What kind of weathering would you suggest? Like this is obviously like a lighter joint. What would you suggest for something like a darker color?
Well, I think the same things. It may just be a heavier application of it, you know. And again, a layered thing. So even the, I'll just keep it on this side. You know, I would again keep the blacks to a minimum. I see that with a lot of fan stuff. Is they tend to age with blacks. And if you want to make a darker black, but stick with the umbers and everything. That they seem to be really the ones that look more natural. But you know, putting on the paint. Thicker, you know, just thicker. You can see you're up against a little bit of a wall, a brick wall when you're using, you know, like that color, because it's not going to show it. And so the only other thing with that is maybe if you want an age, put chips in there, like paint chips. So go in there with silvers or something like it's scratched. But look at real paint chips and realize, you know, what you realize is that it just doesn't expose silver, it exposes like a layer of paint between the top coat and the next coat. And so you maybe outline it with another color, darker color, or mid-range color. So.
Don, have you ever used streaks and tips?
I have, yeah. The only problem with streaks and tips, it works well on the aluminum heads. The only problem with streaks and tips is because it's alcohol-based, and it'll attack the lacquers. So.
Go with a lot more blacks when you get the carbon scoring after the shield generator is repaired? Because that
Yeah.
looked like a lot of blacks.
Yeah, that again, exactly. There would be an explosion there. So we, you know, like again, our 4 got an explosion near him, so we had to put glass, you know, like look on his face. And then, you know, I think the best way to do it would be to go over with a base coat all over the whole thing, just to get a light thing. Start rubbing some of that off. Again, it really depends on how dirty you want to get it.
We want this on the TV. Get some rust on it. It's got a bunch of color getting in front.
And then you're just playing with other colors on top of it. Sometimes you have to let you can accelerate it with a hairdryers.
Why'd you have to get white paint?
I thought if you want to, I wanted to make it a little bit. Nah. Well, again, you could do the chips or something. You know, you could have like some. I'm not gonna attempt that. I'm not that good. And then I don't have finer brushes. I got these little ones, but just trying to get.
Now, what's the difference between weathering for the camera versus weathering for just anybody looking at it up close?
Well,
what do you do differently?
Yeah, I was saying that we kind of do it for the camera. Sometimes we'll have to do it overdo it, you know, a little bit more than you normally would for it. I think that's the only difference. I think I always do it to my eye, and then if we get on set, it's like, gosh, that doesn't look like dirty at all. Then we just put some more on it. We had, for that, matter of fact, that shot I showed you for the first thing, since we weren't ready for that, we brought on this, whatever R2 it was, I think it was, ready to go, and it was clean, or it was cleaner, and we brought on, and they said, hey, you know, it's not, it just was in the space battle, it should be dirtier, so we didn't have anything with us on set, because we were rushed in, and the prop guy only had black, I think black dulling spray, which is basically the streaks and tips. And I just did a quick, you know, like it's a burn. You know, I had to keep that thing through most of the movie then, because.
How'd you not know you were on first day call and showing up?
They didn't put us on the call sheet.
Oh.
Don, wouldn't you say another thing that a lot of people seem to forget is the fact that there's gravity, so everything drips
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, I touched on that a little bit, but yeah, that exactly. That I like to see stuff coming. I always work in a downward motion.
Is it dirtier, dirtier at the bottom and cleaner as
It
you
could
go
be.
up?
I mean, again, it depends. I think, oh well, something hit him here, it dripped here, and then it drops down. And you could sometimes do that with some of these. Put a lot of stuff on there.
Look at
That's the stuff.
Yeah, that's the one.
But you gotta watch where the drips go. This is but you gotta watch where the drips go because sometimes it doesn't look natural.
We have like 30 minutes left.
I don't think I'll be able to do the whole thing, but I mean it just gives you a general idea.
Don, would you be able to turn it?
Yeah.
So we can see it over here.
Wait, you have to turn it around.
And again, this would be a really good rust for a rust look. One other thing that we do a lot with aging stuff too is actually coloring the water. I didn't want to get into that with this only because it takes a lot of the paint and it's really messy. Yeah, you can sometimes control it by starting the drip point. But yeah, if you can make washes with the water and just go.
What they're doing there pretty good is with their recorder that their Word 500 blue main oil cylinder is leaking out.
Yeah, you could just use the same. You could also get temper paints and put them in there. Tempers tend to stain a little bit.
You said, what's this set? You can take it back off again?
Or just rub hard with water. Just rub hard with water or simple green or some non-alcohol based.
Drip down on the battery, like a top battery, drip down the side.
It is. Well, again, like I said, you just start out. The best thing to do with any of this stuff is start out light. Don't go into a really heavy duty aging job. This is not my best drip. Yeah, that was burnt sienna and I think raw burnt mixed together. Burnt sienna on its own was a little too red. And then if you get it's the yellow one, yellow ochre, yeah, mix that in. Oh, after you do that, not mix it in, but after you do that, get a drip of that going, it starts really looking more rusty. But this would work for even like a stormtrooper.
Is that how you did the sand trippers?
I didn't, but yeah, that's how they would have.
What about C3 down? You just use Dawn spray on it?
Not the gold one.
You let go?
Yeah, they worked out the drips. Think of that. They worked out the reflections later. On the original films, if you watch carefully, especially out in the desert stuff, you can really see all the crew in the reflection. Yeah.
So you didn't touch them at all. You came back from the plater and you just put them together.
Yeah, we didn't try to age him. I thought of like giving him a little highlight here and there, but it didn't seem to warrant it. So. With the gold. Well, that came straight from the vacuum metalizer. So they knew what color it was because the vacuum metalizer, the way the process works, as I understand it, is they take it and coat it with some sort of material and they put it, they suspend it in a vacuum chamber and polarize the two parts. So they've got they make I guess negative charge or positive.
Yeah, they polarize the ions in a vacuum field, and that way all the vapor dust just suddenly
Just
floats through the air.
It floats in the air and then it
falls.
lands
It
on.
gives a nice even
well, I think
coating.
they charge though the
part.
The part, and so it's attracted to the part, and they use aluminum powder for that, and then just to get a gold color, they spray a gold clear coat over it, or a yellow clear coat basically.
What do you think, Nick? What do you think?
Here's the signature.
For sure, but that's
Outside or inside?
inside.
Maybe I could sign my name in rust.
That's what the whole thing's a big signature.
That's cool.
So is this how you did those the Pepsi ones that were given away for episode 1? Did you whether the set that was a
Oh,
prize?
yeah, episode 2, yeah.
Or some-
Yeah.
in the garage or something?
Yeah, I did in my garage. My
Make
son
the
actually
garage.
helped me. My son was like, and I had to go back and edit them. Yeah, I met the guy he sold it to. Yeah, he's sitting in front of me. He's Lisa Stevens. Not Ben Stevens. Lisa Stevens. The fan club. And then just touch on the feet a little bit. So that's all right, I guess. Looks kind of rusty. So I like the. Well, I'm used to wetting the other one because if I don't wet the other one, it doesn't do anything. But these, again, you work against gravity now, so I just take it. This is like the feet are always dirty coming.
Why are you going against gravity?
Well, yeah, I figure it's splashing up. So the darker parts, I want to keep the darker down low. This one, again, depending on what environment it would be on. It could be black or maybe chalky. Don't use raw cement. And also, I anything that has a recess, I like the shadow. Just to get something darker in there, just to make the thing pop a little bit more. And yeah, I'm putting it right on the brush only because normally I would have a palette and I would just be dipping into it. This is probably the best way to do it, but I would suggest doing it that way, just spritzing out a bunch of paint in there. The idea here being is that you kind of want it to be like fading, get lighter up here and darker down there. But in general, I always generally kept the feet pretty dirty. Rags too dirty.
Same day. What's left?
You gotta walk out of the street every
Famous last words of a droid maker.
I hope you like the film.
That was awesome.
Sorry, he's out of time. He's gotta go.
What's the best volunteer story from Interstate Freight?
I think I told them who were showing up on set and saying I'm out of a job.
Now, were they just razzing you, or were they kind of serious?
No, he was serious. He didn't want to. He wanted to do it all digital.
Yeah, because I actually
You were
met
there.
with you like the night before, and you were like really bummed. I mean, it was like I was.
Is that when you split your wrist?
No, I did that on Father's Day last. I did a really stupid thing. I brand new sharp blade on a razor knife, on a carpet knife, and my wife designs handbags, and we're shipping some fabric off to the factory, and and the tubes are too long, the fabric's rolling. And so I took a pipe cutter and I made the pipe. Yeah, I knew I was going to cut myself, right? So I took a pipe cutter and made a pipe cutter. And it didn't go in deep enough, so I figured I'll just score it with the knife. So I put a nice sharp blade on it and held it like that.
Don, I did exactly the same thing here in cutting frisket film, right that way across.
That's my scar.
I think everyone that builds an art to has stitches to show for it.
Stitch. And and that's the other thing that happens, the phenomenon that happens. Okay, yeah. Oh well, at the time I ripped my spleen out. You know. I hear every horror story. You know.
So you knew they were shooting for the first day. You weren't on the call sheet. We thought you'd just show up anyway with an art.
No, I was there and I get a call. We were on the radio, so they says, "Hey, we need an R2 on set. Why aren't you on set?" I was like, "No one's on me." And so I showed up. But one of the stories I was going to tell is Jason. I don't know if you remember this. He was actually there when I started shooting, and I think I got there on a Wednesday. I think I was told Thursday. No, I was told Friday actually. That's when all this came down. And Monday we were going to start shooting, and
Saturday.
yeah, that's right. It was in between that. We didn't know what was going to happen at that point, and I was just told, and where we were sharing a space with a creature shop, and Ewan McGregor and his and Kyle, I think it's Kyle Rowling, who's Count Dooku's stunt double, where they rehearsed their lightsaber duels, were right up the road. So they would always walk by, the creature department, so they popped their head in to see what was going on. Ewan, they were making a dummy of Ewan anyway. So he popped in and he saw the R2s out. It was the first day the R2s were all out, and he came in and and we were all like, it was literally 20 minutes before this is when we were told this, and everyone's like, you could read on our faces there was something was amiss. And I told him, he goes, those wankers? And he said, they can't do that. He said, no, they won't do that. And they really didn't. So.
How much input do you have with the CGI guys and doing their R2s? Because I noticed there was like a battle R2 going against like a super battle droid, and it looked like a dome.
Yeah,
it was like.
Well, we shot some of that.
It was like a plated metal, and it looked like it was armored.
Yeah, we
video tribute.
Oh yeah.
I think that's actually a super battle droid's hand.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
So it's actually his hands over the dome.
Yeah, that's battle droid's hands over it. Remember, I think we did the beginning of that shot. We had R2 like turn around and look, and then drifted back as it was yanked by the droid. The guys, they were really into me. In fact, they all have R2 Builders stickers. I gave them all R2 Builders because they're honorary R2 Builders, aren't they? And they were really into it. And they wanted to get it right. Matter of fact, John Farmer, who actually built the geometry he modeled R2. He actually even caught an animation error, the way they had R2 moving at one point, and he wrote a letter. He said even in an email, he writes in there, even at risk of my job, I can't allow this to happen. So he was policing it as well, and they changed it. I'm trying to remember what the difference was. I think it was rocking back and forth, but the arms were as if they were independent of the body, and so they were moving too. It did look horrible, actually. Wow. So, they were checking with me. They come over. They took the measurements, the CAD drawings that I did have. They modified it somewhat.
So I know Stan Winston said that CGI is going to be the next plateau of model building, but still there's actually prop makers out there that they enjoy the physicality of it.
Well, you still have to have stuff for actors to interact with. Fortunately, Sky Captain bombed, so they won't go that route any too soon. And I think the actors still, although they claim they can act with it, they still, I don't think they really enjoy the experience of shooting. I know it drove Ewan crazy, and other people, it was just so difficult for them to wrap their head around. Even though then they could go on stage and like pretend that whole 600 people were sitting there, but I don't think these guys, model makers or prop makers will be out of jobs any too soon.
Thank God.
Well, that's. And that was, I was trying to do a more graduated thing, but I was getting frustrated with it. So that's why I find the best thing to do is move on to the next one. And again, yeah, you have some questions too, so I just want to get that.
Is the R4's body in this? The red domed R4 piece?
No, he gets killed. He gets killed right at the beginning. Well, you saw the footage.
Yeah, gets his head ripped off.
Yeah, no, you never see this one. The thing is, now that George has established it, and I don't think it's in any of the clips yet, but of course R2's in that fighter too. So they had shots of R2 popping out of it. So all of a sudden somehow it fits.
Wouldn't they just blue screen like the paint so they could change it on the video?
That was the original concept. As a matter of fact, if you saw that photo that I had, does he talk about that in it? It didn't work. We ended up repainting it. We painted it first for Obi-Wan's Starfighter, shot all the R4 stuff at ILM, including the R&J dome getting ripped off of it. And then they had 4 days off of shooting that thing, and we repainted it again, made it Anakin ship with the chrome, and that's how it's currently is in there now. Very funny that when we did the dome getting ripped off, the original dome is the one from episode 2. There was a fiberglass dome that we used for R4. Then we had to create the broken, burned one, and a lady named Carol Bauman actually came up with the interior of it. Well, there was a rough sketch from the art department, but I ended up helping her. She put all this kind of cool stuff inside there. And the problem was it wasn't really relating to what was the panel. Not that it needed to, but the way the Greeblies were in there, they weren't necessarily relating to stuff, and I thought it would be something better. So we tried to put more things like around the perimeter and stuff like that. So it was just going to be a charred mess anyway, and that's exactly what happened. We painted it, put it all together, and then we had one of our welders take a plasma cutter and just cut the dome. I've got videotape of it somewhere, of the dome being cut for real. And it just literally started a fire on the inside of the whole thing and turned it into a big charred blackened mess. It melted mess at that, because there's like a distributor cap in the middle, underneath was a hubcap, and that just melted the hell. So for the shot where we did it, actually, again, I don't know if it's still in the film, I haven't seen the full sequence. There's a fire that R4 has to put out, and I think it's this panel. We made the door open. No, it's this panel. Next to the hollow. We made the door open and a little fire extinguisher, and he puts the fire out. Because that one related the most to the fire extinguisher that you never saw in
New Hope.
New Hope, right? And then so I mechanized the door to just do that with a servo, and then we shot that scene, and then they drilled a hole in the top of the R&J dome, and then we took another wire. Or no, that was. Yeah, I think that was the one, and we wrapped it. Before it went up, we wrapped it 3 times around the head and placed the head back on. They put charges all around the inside, and then that cable, if the Starfighter is painting that way, the R2 is on that side. Excuse me. Hello. Hey, Danny. I'm in the R2 Builders room. The R2 Builders room. Where are you at? We're going to meet up with Dave and Lou for dinner. You going to join us? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
About 600 other people. Yeah, I'm going to meet you there at 9 o'clock. Get to love you. Okay? Okay, bye. So we wrapped it around. R2, the ship's pointing that way. The R4 head is there, wrapped around. And then the cable that went up, and then it went this way, and it came back this way, all on pulley system. And I had the job of yanking it off, right? But the oddest thing was that the camera's like over there. I think it was just kind of shooting off that way. And the R4's head there, and I have to pull it, and I have to like come right in its path.
Oh yeah, right.
So it's like, but at the same time, they wanted me on screen, obviously. So I had to do this thing where I pulled it and I hit the ground so that I wouldn't get hit by the thing coming flying past me. And so we did it 4 or 5 times. and the first couple of times, you know, it just kind of yanked off and then kind of dragged off. And it's like, oh, pull harder. So it's like a running start. We tried all different things. And it ended up working. I'm not quite sure what ended up wound up in the film because
Slow flow.
It's much more of a slow, slow thing. And I think they transitioned to a CG one. If they even used the real one, I'm not quite sure. I never asked John Noel what they ended up doing. You got those questions? You got questions?
They were just basic questions. Maybe a couple from the audience would probably be easier.
Yeah, go for it. Let me just.
I got
see.
one.
Yep.
Where's the scraps?
Scraps.
That you charge
Oh,
them.
they're in the archives.
Okay.
Yeah, we kept them.
I said, go on, dumpster.
We kept it. No. I wouldn't have let them. And I said we kept both the original head and the broken one. And I mean, there pieces were flying off the thing constantly. You know, so pick up all the pieces and kind of stick them back on. It was a very exciting actually event. The pyro event was pretty cool. Do you guys have a DVD player here?
Yeah.
Did you get anybody see our film, our ILM film from
Yeah.
Did you guys-
I saw it down in